The headlines tonight: Euro MPs' new headsets play the sound of screaming women. Brian Ferry bath mat poisonous, say lab. And bouncing elephantiasis woman destroys central Portsmouth. Those are the headlines. Happy now? On the day-to-day tonight, MP in heartless outburst after bomb goes off in Hurd's bath.
Well, one bomb's going off in the Foreign Secretary's hand, but all he does is say, well, I didn't need that hand anyway.
And a warm handshake from Michael Heseltine for the children he is about to release into the woods and shoot.
How do you do? Nice to say hello to you.
The Bank of England is in chaos following the discovery that the pound has been stolen. As the news broke, trading rooms were plunged into chaos. Even seasoned campaigners known for grace under pressure reduced to squawking the day's panicked cry.
What's happening?
What's happening? The pound was stolen at 1:30 this afternoon by thieves dressed as cleaners. They drove a white Montego. Helicopter police gave chase, but despite the shunt, the men escaped, making good with their legs across open ground. As city markets crashed and flew off, the government tried to stabilise the economy with an emergency currency based on the Queen's eggs, several thousand of which were removed from her ovaries in 1953 and held in reserve. This meant anyone mad enough to seize on the panic selling of dead pounds could become a dollar millionaire in less than an hour.
How much money have you personally made today?
Probably about 10 million.
Wow.
Throughout the day, bank officials have refused to confirm the rumours that the pound was only vulnerable at all because they removed it to play with at lunchtime and forgot to put it back. Later tonight, we'll be asking Malcolm Rifkin for his view and asking him why he likes pulling the legs off live dogs and shooting foreign policemen. It's been revealed that the junior Treasury Minister, Michael Portillo, carries a sawn-off shotgun to constituency meetings, corners children in parks and chews their cheeks, and has frequent sexual intercourse with stray animals, claiming, as long as it's got a backbone, I'll do it. That story we reported last week and have since discovered it to be untrue. Do you feel that young people are taking the right cues from their culture?
I think young people make a contribution and indeed form the culture in which they live and in which we all live.
How do you feel about some of the more dangerous elements of their cultural melee?
I don't know what you mean by their more dangerous elements.
We're talking bang. I'm talking guns. I'm talking about people like Uzi MC, the Blood Rap movement, Herman the Tosser. How do you feel when young people are presented with the sort of stuff that they're churning out?
I think it's rather sad.
When somebody listens to Herman the Tosser?
And I think that there are very many young people who are turned off by that violence, by that sexism, by that racism, and by that homophobia.
Are you levelling all those accusations at Herman the Tosser?
No, I'm not. Herman the Tosser is not someone who has invaded my own particular consciousness.
And
although clearly he has invaded yours, and it's a concern of yours. It sounds to me rather.
It sounds to me too.
It sounds to me rather.
And it sounds to me too.
Rather an unpleasant name, but
name.
he may be a delightful and inoffensive person.
For a second night running, London's police are out in force clamping the homeless. The new measures have been in operation since Monday and are already proving successful. The clamps are bolted on to any homeless person found asleep or motionless after 9 p.m. at night. This is the time when London's street people start accumulating in doorways, many of them drunk and pissed up on booze. The clamps ensure that any homeless who has caused a blockage is forced to stay put when they wake up. They've probably been sick too. They are then prosecuted and punished. And reaction to the new measures has been strong. So far, we've spoken to Kim Wilde. Does it make you feel bad when they clamp homeless people on the Strand?
When they clamp them?
Yeah. Businesses on the Strand getting in people to clamp them so they can't move away and then they're persecuted. And then they fine them for being in the way.
I didn't know that. That's awful.
Would you call for clamps to be illegalised?
Certainly on human beings. It's obscene. The number of MPs in Westminster suffering from Slemmel's disease has risen to 22.
Slemmel's disease is caused by a brain virus that affects the victim's ability to read. They can see the words but have no idea what they mean. Baroness Trumpington was the first to show signs 2 weeks ago. She may have caught it from a badger. Then John McGregor. The virus is highly infectious and lives in peppermints. This was the moment Peter Lilly realised he too was in trouble. Slemmels also affects leg-eye coordination, causing victims to walk straight past places they intend to stop.
So, hey!
By last Friday, William Waldegrave had little control over his body. Teddy Taylor followed, and Jimmy Knapp severely. Most seriously of all, on Monday, John Patton showed unmistakable signs, failing to recognise familiar surroundings and objects, clearly having no understanding of the day's briefs. The second document proved equally mysterious, and the third he couldn't even be bothered to try. And the disease shows no sign of stopping. This morning, Malcolm Rifkind appeared lost when he was just 20 yards from his office.
Doctors say the only treatments they can offer so far are rubbish. Today's historic trade agreement between Australia and Hong Kong marks a new season of hope for the future of world trade. The two countries have been at each other's throats for years, but now the hatchet's been buried by a treaty which allows unrestricted trading between all parties at all levels. I'm joined now by Martin Crace, the British Minister with special responsibility for the Commonwealth, and Gavin Hawtrey, the Australian Foreign Secretary in Canberra. Gentlemen, this is pretty historic stuff. Well done. A future of unbridled harmony then, Australia?
Yes, I think Martin Crace and I can be pretty satisfied. It's a good day.
And if, as in the past, Australia exceed their agreement, what will you do about it?
This is a very satisfactory treaty, which I'm sure will work well. Naturally, if the limits were exceeded, then this would be met with a firm line, but I can't see this being necessary.
Mr. Hawtrey, he's knocking a firm line in your direction. What are you going to do about that?
Well, in that case, we just reimpose sanctions as we did last year.
Sanctions? Hang on a second. They've only just swallowed their sanctions and now they're burping them back up in your face.
I think sanctions is rather premature talk. Certainly, if sanctions were imposed, we should have to retaliate with appropriate measures. But I can't see...
Appropriate measures is a euphemism, Mr. Hawtrey. You know what it means. What are you going to do about that?
Well, I just have to go back to Cabinet.
And ask them about what?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's a matter for the military.
The military?
I think military measures is totally inappropriate reaction, and I think this is way, way over the top.
Sounds like you're being inappropriate, are you?
Of course I'm not being inappropriate, but Martin Crace knows that full well.
This is the sort of misunderstanding that I thought we'd laid to rest during our negotiating period.
Misunderstanding it certainly is. It's certainly not a treaty, is it? You're both at each other's throats, you're backing yourselves up with arms. What are you going to do about it? Mr. Hawtrey, let me give you a hint. Bang!
What are you asking me to say?
You know damn well what I'm asking you to say. You're putting yourself in a situation of armed conflict. What are you plunging yourself into?
You'd like me to say it?
I want you to say it, yes.
You want the word?
The word!
I will not flinch.
You will not flinch from...
War.
War. Gentlemen, I'll put you on hold. If fighting did break out, it will probably occur in Eastman's Town in the Upper Cataracts on the Australia-Hong Kong border. Our reporter Donald Bethlehem is there now. Donald, what's the atmosphere like?
Tension here is very high, Chris. The stretched twig of peace is at melting point. People here are literally bursting with war. This is very much a country that's going to blow up in its face.
Well, gentlemen, it seems you have little option now but to declare war immediately.
Well, this is quite impossible. I couldn't take such a decision without referring to my superior, Chris Patton. He's in Hong Kong.
Good, because he's on the line now via satellite. Mr. Patton, what do you think of the idea of a war now? I'll take that as a yes.
Very well, it's war.
War it is.
That's it, Chris. It's war. War has broken out. This is a war.
That's it. Yes, it's war. From now on, the Day Today will be providing the most immediate coverage of any war ever fought. On the front line and in your face, Donald Bethlehem.
Standing by, Douglas Hurd.
The Day Today smart bombs have nose-mounted cameras. This is Smart Bomb Stephen, and that is Susanna Gekkelois.
I'll be reporting from inside the fight.
Like some crazy Trojan. And keeping an eye on everything that's going on out there at the Day Today news pipe, Douglas Trox.
Chris.
Back to the war, and on the front line in Eastman's Town, our reporter Donald Bethlehem. Donald, what's the latest?
As I swirled the last traces of toothpaste from my mouth this morning, a soldier's head flew past the window, shouting the word victory.
Seems to be a lot of action behind you there. Have you seen any fighting yourself?
Today I saw an old woman on the ground. She was lying in a pool of her own tomatoes.
Thank you, Donald. Earlier today, I've been down among the fighting myself. This is my report.
There's something about the way these people move that tells you they are a nation at war. Look into their eyes and you can read the words, "I have a reservation at the restaurant of death." It's a messy bistro with a bad name for soiling its customers' clothes. We've seen only one napkin in 4 days. The people here are confused, spending most of their time running about like idiots. Earlier today, we met a family who, thanks to this war, now have no home. A war which they feel anyway has nothing to do with them.
This is not our war. We are being forced to swallow the rotten egg of an angry political goose.
That boy is now a war orphan. One more victim of what they call here the desert confetti. I have a child about his age myself. When I phoned him 10 minutes ago, I told him to move out of the house to make room for his new brother.
Back live now. Progress on the day-to-day smart bomb. Jonathan, get rid of Hurd. Thanks.
Well, as you can see, Chris, there's the missile cruising about 2,000 per second, trying to locate the target, the soldier it's aimed at. There's the soldier, it goes in through the mouth, there, down the esophagus, into the stomach. There's the explosion.
Absolutely bang. That's the day-to-day, bringing you another tear on the face of the world's mother. Susanna Gekkelois has broken through to the front line. This is her contribution to history.
This is the very heart of the conflict. The men here have been fighting non-stop for 3 days. We drove in at night, straight into the middle of a rocket battle.
The air now is thick with what they call here the electric cornflakes. We're under strict instructions not to leave the vehicle, but to drive on through.
With no cover, we ran across open space to a nearby house. We found an injured man. We did our best. There are always casualties in war. There was a family sheltering in the back room. We had no tongue in common, but through the universal language of mutual need, I knew she was saying, "Come, set your equipment up in our refuge. The world must see this mess." These brave people are now sleeping, but they know that tomorrow our aerials and transmitters could make this house a prime target. Chris.
Back to the war now, and in the noise and heat of what they call here the flying scissor beans, there is no optimism, or at least wasn't, until just 2 minutes ago when we received these pictures of a miracle from the front line less than a mile from where I'm standing. This was the scented rose in the bum gut of Satan, for here at 7:13 precisely, the fighting stopped. Soldiers who moments earlier had been shooting each other's teeth out suddenly put down their guns and joined in peaceful commune. Some played games, or like these men, planned a musical. The reason for this outburst of calm lay inside a shed, for here the massed forces of 2 world powers were unified by nothing more than the distress of a cat stuck on a high shelf. No one knows how it got there, but these brave fighting men, moved by the simplicity of the animal's plight, decided to forget their differences and try to get it down. But even as the men celebrated, their heads were blown clean off. For somebody, nobody knows who, had filled the cat with nitroglycerin.
The Day Today. News from telly to belly.
Just time for a quick look at tomorrow's headlines. Plastic surgeon arrested with stash of stolen mouths. That's in the Express. The Hull Aphrodite, police chief crushes lizard with whistle. There he is, looking wretched. The Daily Mail, child made of paint wins by-election. The Murdoch papers tomorrow, crazed wolves in store, a bad mistake, admit Mothercare. And there's the same story in The Sun. And the Daily Mirror have a special pull-out note for the milkman. 5 pints, please. They'll be doing 3, 2 and 4 later in the week. That's it. That's the Day Today. On the day, a man on this programme told how he was menaced by Hugh Scully.
He just came in and went, then went out.
That's it. Good night.
1953 and held in reserve. This meant anyone mad enough to seize on the panic selling of dead pounds could become a dollar millionaire in less than an hour.
How much money have you personally made today?
Probably about 10 million.
Wow.
Throughout the day, bank officials have refused to confirm the rumours that the pound was only vulnerable at all because they removed it to play with at lunchtime and forgot to put it back.
Later tonight, we'll be asking Malcolm Rifkin for his view and asking him why he likes Pull's Bath.
Well, one bomb's going off in the Foreign Secretary's hand, but all he does is say, well, I didn't need that hand anyway.
And a warm handshake from Michael Heseltine for the children he is about to release into the woods and shoot.
How do you do? Nice to say hello to you.
The Bank of England is in chaos following the discovery that the pound has been stolen.
As the news broke, trading rooms were plunged into chaos. Even seasoned campaigners known for grace under pressure reduced
pulling the legs off live dogs and shooting foreign policemen. It's been revealed that the junior Treasury Minister Michael Portillo carries a sawn-off shotgun to constituency meetings, corners children in parks and chews their cheeks, and has frequent sexual intercourse with stray animals, claiming, as long as it's got a backbone, I'll do it. That story we reported last week and have since discovered it to be untrue.
Do you feel that young people are taking the right cues from their culture?
I think young people make a contribution.
The headlines tonight: Euro MP's new headsets play the sound of screaming women. Brian Ferry bath mat poisonous, say lab. And bouncing elephantiasis woman destroys central Portsmouth. Those are the headlines. Happy now. On the day-to-day tonight, MP in heartless outburst after bomb goes off in her.
Just squawking the day's panicked cry.
What's happening?
What's happening? The pound was stolen at 1:30 this afternoon by thieves dressed as cleaners. They drove a white Montego. Helicopter police gave chase, but despite the shunt, the men escaped, making good with their legs across open ground. As city markets crashed and flew off, the government tried to stabilise the economy with an emergency currency based on the Queen's eggs, several thousand of which were removed from her ovaries in